You all remember what we saw last week? हमको तो पता नहीं होगा. He's coming first time. But anyone here?
Money.
Yeah.
And investing and giving.
Yeah, like how to handle money in a biblical way. That's what we said. So today, I will be seeing about maybe how Satan tries to oppress or persecute. But we may get oppressed, but we don't get destroyed. Actually, we become more fruitful, or we become more flourishing. So we'll see about it. Now John 10, in John 10 actually that chapter shares about a good shepherd. Who is a good shepherd and who is a thief who is not a real shepherd. A thief looks like a shepherd, but he's not a true shepherd. It says the good shepherd will put his life on the line for the sheep. So in John 10:10 and 11, so 10:10, what does it say? Satan always, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. The thief, like it refers to a bad shepherd, not a true shepherd, meaning that shepherd is not from God. The shepherd is from Satan, a false shepherd. And so this false shepherd is actually a thief. Because if you see about false prophets or false teachers in the New Testament, one of the main reasons they do is to gain something from the people, maybe money or some possession or maybe fame, worship, whatever it is. So this false shepherd is a thief, and he comes only for one reason, not to give. True shepherd gives. He shares about God. He can give his own life when needed. He gives his time. He may give his resources. Whatever which can help you to know truth or to know God more closer. But the thief always comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And in the same verse it says, I came. Now, this is actually Jesus speaking. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. And not just a normal life, but an abundant life, maybe a blessed life, or overflowing life. Now we saw about what blessing really means in the last Bible study. It's not just the material blessings. We were seeing about God's presence in our life, God's word in our life, having joy, peace, love in our life, having someone like God-given family, friends in our life, good relationships, which bring us closer to God. These are true blessings. And so God came to give us life, abundant life. Yeah, verse 11, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. Why does he lay, before that, if you see the verses, it says the sheep hear the shepherd's voice. Then you see the shepherd lays his life down for the sheep. There is a relation between the shepherd and the sheep. We have a relation with our pastor, we have relation with the body members. In the sense we have a relation with each believer who knows Christ, who believes in Christ. There is a relation, there is a personal relation. To that level, where the shepherd is willing to give his own life for the sheep. He's not wanting to take something, he's not wanting to steal something, but he wants to give something. So I want to share from, if we see about not this killing, destroying, stealing, Satan has been trying to kill or destroy God's line, God's people from the start. We see in Genesis 6, we see that man's thoughts are continually evil. And it is mentioned, sons of God having abnormal relations with daughters of men, and giants were there. To make the line of God, through which Israel can come later, through which Jesus can come later, to make it impure, Satan did those things. What happened? God had to wipe off whole earth except Noah, who was righteous. And then, if you see, we were seeing about the famine in Genesis. Between Genesis 41 to 40, we see 7 years of famine. Just think if Jacob and those his sons and the people were in Canaan, they would have died through the famine. But God knew it much before. He sent Joseph to Egypt much before. He raised Joseph to the second place after Pharaoh. And then there was a time where Jacob and his sons came to Egypt. They were fed, they survived the famine. And then if you see, now we'll be seeing from Exodus 1 today. In Exodus 1, Satan tries to kill the Jewish people, the Hebrew people. We'll see that in more detail. And even if you later if you see in Esther, Haman tries to kill the whole Jewish people. Then in Acts 2, not Acts 2, in the Gospels we see Herod trying to kill Hebrew babies. It's a big mass destruction. Then in recent times you see many leaders like Hitler and some other leaders against Hebrews. Satan tries to destroy or kill the Jewish line. But there is someone putting their life on the line to save them. Like in a time when Haman tried, Esther put her life on the line. God prepared Esther much before, and the Jewish people were saved. So in Exodus 1, we'll read few verses. Now before Exodus 1, Joseph was next to Pharaoh. He was well known all around Egypt. He was treated with same respect and honor as Pharaoh. And his father, Joseph's father, his brothers, everyone were given great lands and they multiplied. But in Exodus 1, from verse 6, okay? So it also says before it, around 70 people were the people who went from Canaan to Egypt. These are the Jewish people because they are from Jacob. So from verse 6 and 7, then Joseph died, and all his brothers and all their generation. But the people of Israel were fruitful and increased greatly. They multiplied and grew exceedingly strong, so that the land was filled with them. So in Joseph's time, everything went great. And now Joseph died, and then he had other brothers, 11 brothers. They also died one by one. Jacob already died. So that generation is not there. Joseph's generation is not there. The next generation is there. But they were multiplying, they are fruitful, they are growing exceedingly strong, maybe in quantity and in numbers, and the land was filled with them. So many people, so many Hebrew people in the land of Egypt. Now, verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph, and he said to his people, Behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply, and if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. So this is a king who is in place of Pharaoh. Now this king, after Joseph and their generation died, he came into power, but he didn't know Joseph. Like, because God used Joseph, the Egyptian people were saved during the famine. And he didn't know that. In the sense, maybe he knew by history, but he didn't regard it, or he didn't honor it. He wanted to do his own way. Now he sees these Jewish people growing strongly in the land of Egypt. And he gets fear inside. He gets insecure. He thinks, what if these people ally with our enemies, and if when enemies attack us and if they join them, we'll be gone. In the sense, they can gain freedom from us. So they are using these Jewish people for their small works, to build things and many different works. And if they go, it will be a problem for them. Who will do those works for them? So they want to use these people, but at the same time they don't want them to grow much bigger. But God's plan was to keep them there and grow them, to multiply them, which was happening. But there were like what can we see here? Like, see, Egypt is always representing world. So there was a time where the world needed God, and it had God, it revered God, it was connected. Like, I'm talking about Pharaoh and Joseph. Pharaoh saw, okay, this man has God in his life, and we want him, and he gave all the authority to him. So the world recognized God, but not having a relationship, but using God for its benefits. Like Pharaoh used Joseph. But then there became a time where the world didn't need God. And the world said, I don't need to know Joseph. I don't need to know God. And the people of God, the world became insecure of the people of God. Now the world tries to attack or control the people of God. Like, the world cannot be friend for God's people, God or God's people. Maybe it can be a friend in some situation, but it can turn. The situation can turn. Now, sometimes people can keep a beast as a pet in their home, like having a crocodile or having a lion. Maybe it grew from small, like a cub, have a good relation, but one day it can take your life. Now the relationship can change from a pet and a master to like a predator and a prey. So the world is always against God and His line. It can have a good relationship for some time and it's needed, but the situation can change. Like, it just needs one man to change, and this whole situation changed between Egypt and the family of Jacob or Joseph. So now he has insecurity, he has fear, and now he's doing three big things against the Jewish people. So the first thing is, we'll read in these verses from 11 to 14. Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with heavy burdens. They built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied. The more they spread abroad. And the Egyptians were in dread of the people of Israel. So they ruthlessly made the people of Israel work as slaves and made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and brick and in all kinds of work in the field. In all their work, they ruthlessly made them work as slaves. So they were working before, but now their work has become a big burden. They have given maybe like 3 man's work, 1 man but doing 3 man's work. So, and beating a lot. It was not there before. They had more freedom. So now they are burdened, overburdened. Just think about their life. It's like maybe sleeping, eating, and working. That will be their life. They'll be like very tired, exhausted. It says their lives were bitter. It's like they are thinking, should I live this life? I'm so tired working like this every day, like a ox or a machine, like every day, and I don't have proper rest, I don't have proper sleep. Should I live like this? Like they may be like they're bitter in their hearts, but they can't do anything because these people are having authority over them. Like Satan can put oppression in our life in that way, bringing a lot of details into our life, or just putting outside pressure on us. I know people who are like they are termed as workaholics, right? Who like just work for maybe for their family. Maybe some people just like want to grow much higher in their career, or maybe they want to build a lot of wealth. But and it can be a way where Satan can attack us, because we will not have time for spiritual things. We will not have time for God, and there can be bitterness in heart, physically tired, just thinking about just work. Some people may not want to do that, but they are forced to do that because of their life situation. Like we see in Matthew 13, in that parable, the seed is put in the thorny bushes and they get crushed. Those thorns represent the details of life. Satan uses the details of life. So many people in outreach, when I talk to, they say, I don't have time. I don't have time for. Just now I was talking to a guy in the hotel. We meet him sometimes near the Matunga station. There's a Catholic guy there in the hotel. He takes care of it. He said, no, I was asking him I invited him to this Bible study a few times. He said, I can't come, I have work. Then I said, so we recorded, can we send you the link you can see when you have time? The problem is I don't have time. That was his answer. So people don't have time. Like Satan can use overwork, burden, a lot of details as a first level. And then we go to further verses from verse 15. Then the kings of Egypt, the king of Egypt used this, but these people were not coming under control. And what does it say? They multiplied more. They were taking that burden, they were multiplying, they were continuing to multiply. So that didn't become a solution for the king. So he goes to the next level. So the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shipra and the other Hua, when you serve as a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, she shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but let the male children live. So the king of Egypt called the midwives and said to them, why have you done this? And let the male children live. The midwife said to the Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them. And so God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. And because the midwives feared God, He gave them families. So midwife is someone who helps with the delivery during the childbirth. And see, their names are mentioned. These Hebrew midwives, if you see the Egyptian kingdom, they are kind of worth nothing. But the king has a message to them. The king has so much authority, and these Hebrew midwives have no authority. They are slaves for them. But the king is talking to them. He is sending to a communication. He says, when you help in delivering the baby, if it is a son, if it's a boy, take their life. No? Now,
if it's a girl.
if it's a boy, no? If it's a girl, let the girl live. No? If it's a boy, like because the line goes through the boy. The line goes through the boy. So if boys are killed, then the Hebrew line doesn't go further. The generation ends. That's the plan. So the Hebrew midwives feared whom? God. They knew that this king of Egypt is big. He has authority, but there is a bigger king who has a bigger authority, who is King of Kings. And these two simple midwives who don't have power and authority, they feared God, and they did the right thing in the eyes of God. Proverbs 1:7, what does it say? The fear of God gives, some versions say wisdom, some versions say knowledge. Like if I fear God, I have wisdom. I have right wisdom. I have right knowledge. If I fear man, I don't have wisdom. And one of the verses says, the fear of man is a snare. And in the Gospels it says, if you don't fear man who can only harm your body, but fear God who can harm your body and your soul, like eternally, in an eternal way. He has authority over our souls. So they were wise, and they had just think about the pressure, the king of Egypt. And if he finds out that they are not killing the babies, they will not be spared. And they know that. They are basically saying, even if our lives go, even if I will be killed by the king of Egypt, I am not going to touch these babies, because God will not want me to kill these babies. So they honored and feared God more than the king of Egypt, and they put their own life on the line, like we read about the good shepherd, like we heard about Esther, who gave her own life, put her own life on the line. So now, like during COVID time, I heard about, especially in villages, there was discrimination in many villages. Ration came, but okay, if you're a Christian family, you won't get ration. Some benefits were not given to them, and they struggled. It's a big pressure, and it can cause some people to come out of the faith. Like they say, I can't live without the ration. Okay, let me renounce the faith and get ration. But that's the time where the faith is also tested. Is your faith real on Jesus? Are you willing to even put your life for Jesus? Are you willing to go hungry for Jesus? And it's more difficult. Maybe you can stay hungry. What about your children? Can you see your children hungry? Like the widow of Zarephath, what did she say? I have the last flour and last oil. We want to make a cake for me and my son. But still Elijah demanded, first bring to me, first give to God. Like sometimes it's easier for us, like but our family or our children, it's very difficult for us. It can really test our faith. But these Hebrew midwives, they feared God, and they didn't touch the babies, and God blessed them. Their names are mentioned. There are so many people whose names are not mentioned, who did if in Naaman's case, where there was a small maid, a small girl who was a maid, who said to Naaman's wife, go to this prophet. We have a prophet in Israel, and he will be able to cleanse your leprosy. Name is not mentioned. But these Hebrew midwives, their names were mentioned because of their faith-based action, and like they didn't budge under pressure. And we see Daniel and his friends. See, Daniel 1, they should eat from the king's table to keep their body, but they willingly deny, we will not take. Because it's presented before idols, and it's not the way we can eat, though it looks delicious. They decided, and they can be killed for that, because they are not obeying orders. But God made a way. There's a big idol made to serve or worship the idol. They decide, we will not worship the idol. God keeps their life. Daniel is praying for 3 times a day. That becomes an issue. He's put in the lion's den. His life is still spared by God. Like in each case, it's very, very big pressure. It's like you're against the king. You're against the man who has the whole power and authority, but on the wrong side, like on the worldly side. But because Daniel and his friends feared God, they had wisdom. They were able to handle that pressure. They know what decision they are doing is right in the eyes of God. And like Daniel was raised in his time, like Joseph was raised, Daniel was also raised. He was also like second guy to the king that time. Like God blessed these 2 midwives. He gave them families in a time where Hebrew children were being planned to be killed. So and even now, because of these Hebrew midwives, the people were growing. So now the king goes the next step, the third step. Exodus 1:22. It says, then the Pharaoh commanded all his people, every son that is born to the Hebrews you shall cast into Nile, but you shall let every daughter live. Now what happens if every male child is killed, only the older men live. Now the older men will also die maybe in 10, 20, 30 years. And there is no man, only daughters. Daughters will not marry Hebrew men because there are none. They will marry maybe Egyptian or some other people. So the Hebrew race will vanish. When the daughters marry an Egyptian, they become part of Egypt. If they marry another race, they become part of their race. The Hebrew race will. So it's a big satanic attack using a king of Egypt or a pharaoh who did not know Joseph. Like a world which once took the benefits of God, but now it is not related with God. It's like, okay, I don't want God, I don't want to know God. And I'm against the people of God. I just want to use them. I don't want them to see, grow and multiply. Now, in that situation, now the king has told all the people. It's a command to all people, meaning all Egyptians will be seeing the Hebrew families. It's like countless CCTV cameras around your house. Like the moment a child is born, every eye is going to see it's a boy or a girl. Just think if you are in that time, living in that time, and a child is born, and like, oh boy, how should, like, just think about the parents and the whole family, what they will be going through. What should I do? It's a boy. God has given a boy. How should I keep him safe? Huh? It's a very big thing they went through. And then we see Moses' mom Jochebed. Now she had wisdom from God. Now she put it in the Nile, but she didn't drown him. And we see now we see this. So God is sending this baby Moses on the Nile, and there is king's command that all Hebrew male children should die, should be put in the Nile. But beyond it, there is this Hebrew child which is surviving. So the Egyptian princess comes to that river and she sees this basket, she sees the baby cries. And it says, the verse says in Exodus 2, the princess had compassion on the baby. No? Like, sorry?
2:6.
Yeah, so 2:6, when she opened it, when she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying, she took pity on him. So this version, this is ESV, it says she took pity on him, but some other version says she had compassion on him. So does she know that her father has commanded all the Hebrew children should be drowned? She knows. And she knows that this is a Hebrew child. But God brings a compassion on this princess who has authority, who has power to kill that child actually in that moment. She could have easily drowned that child because the command is there. But God brings a compassion in her heart. This Hebrew child is growing in the same palace where the command came from for all Hebrew children to die. Like God raises a deliverer to Moses. Like we see, okay, this world system is so big, authoritative, but God sends the unusual way for delivering the people. Like there is a big serious thing happening. Like the king of Egypt has commanded all male children to be put in Nile. Maybe the whole Jewish people are like mourning, very sad, worried. But God's answer is a baby who's survived. Like the world system is like this mighty king of Egypt, the mighty princess with authority. But God is sending a child which is weak, which is not like, it doesn't know the knowledge of the world, but it survived and it grows up. It's like we are like normal people. We don't have so much like wisdom of the world. We don't have much power or authority, but we are sent by Christ to the world. To bring deliverance to people who are captive in the world. Like Moses brought deliverance to the people who are captive in Egypt. But he was a baby. He started as a baby. Right? So we are like weak people. We are imperfect people. We are not so wise, noble. We are not wealthy. We don't have political connections. We don't have power. But Like this baby was sent, like we are sent by God, like against this big world system which has power, authority, and the spirit of Satan behind it. But the big thing is, this baby has God along with it. So we have God along with us. So we'll see this verse. So Acts 5:29. Now this is Peter and the apostles. They say they were threatened. They were threatened by people not to share about Jesus. They said, this is we will obey God rather than men. Like Shipra and Pua, they obeyed God rather than the king of Egypt. See, we have authority over us. Maybe our boss, maybe our teacher, maybe a professor, maybe any person in the world. But do we obey them in all things? We obey them, but in those things which are contrary to God. If my boss says, make a false report, tell a lie, give a false witness, it's against God's standard, it's against God's word. I don't need to obey, because I fear, in that case, I fear God more than man. Maybe this authority has power to remove me from my work, has authority to not promote me, or maybe to give other issues, problems. But I fear, I have to make a decision. Do I fear God or do I fear man? And in Galatians, if you read Galatians 1, Paul says this. There were people who are Christians, now they are hearing a wrong message. They are hearing a message of works, salvation by works, by a group called Judaizers. They are Jewish people. They say, you believe in Jesus, but you also should follow the Mosaic traditions. So it was a false message, a false gospel. And some people from the church were turning back to that message, going back to olden ways. And Paul says this, do you seek the approval of man or do you seek the approval of God? Do you want to please man or do you want to please God? If Shipra and Pua wanted to please man, wanted to please the king of Egypt, wanted to have the approval of king of Egypt, wanted to fear him, they would have killed many babies. Maybe they would have been rewarded by the king of Egypt for that also. But they feared God. They didn't look for the approval of man. They didn't want to please man. Why? Because it was contrary to God, contrary to God's word. So we may also have situations in our work, in our family, like where there can be pressure to fear man, pressure to please man. And if it is contrary to God, if it is contrary to what God says, I rather obey God than man. Like Peter said in Acts 5:29. And 1 Corinthians 1, we read few verses. Now, verse 26 to 29, I will read. For consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to the worldly standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. And God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing that things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. Like Moses tried to deliver once. He tried to kill an Egyptian to help a Hebrew man. Right? He tried to help Israel or Jewish people in his own strength, and it failed. It was a big failure, and God prepared him for 40 years in Midian in wilderness, and then brought him again. Now Moses says, "Who am I? Like I can't." He gives 5 different excuses in Exodus 3 when God is calling him. He says, "I can't speak well. I don't have authority. What will I say if these people ask me? The Jewish people ask me, who are you? Who sent you?" Many different things. He says, "I don't have authority. I am weak. I'm not powerful. Uh, I don't have the wisdom of Egyptians now like I used to. I can't do this." But God says, "I'm choosing you. That's why I'm choosing you. Because it's not by your strength." Huh? Like we are sent as a baby like the Moses, and like we can't share the gospel to people with our strength. Huh? Like we can't do the work of God with our strength. Like God gives wisdom. Like we share something about God, we share the gospel, and people believe, and some people reject and some people believe, and it's not our work, it is God's work. Huh? We can't explain, okay, I did this, I talked like this, and they believe. No, it's not my strength, my work. So, like we are, like according to the world, we are foolish, we are weak, we don't have power, we don't have authority, but God is with us, God sends us, and He does the work through us, and so that the glory goes to God. This Moses, this baby, God sent, and he became a deliverer to bring God's people out of Egypt, from the powerful Egyptian worldly system. And why? Because of God, and God's power, God's strength. So we can just relate, we can apply that in a Christian life. Like now Satan wants to, he can oppress, he can bring a great threat using authority. He can put you in a situation where like there is no other option for you. And what do you do? What's your confession? Or what's my decision? And do I still stay for God? Do I still make a decision for God? Do I fear God or fear man? No? Because if I fear God, He gives life. No? And there is blessing, there is multiplication, there is fruitfulness. Like we saw with the Jewish people under the oppressive Egyptian regime. By the worldly standards, they could not have come out. But because of God, they came out. Like it takes the same thing. Like someone in the world, to bring him to Christ, it takes God's strength and power. Like, that's why it's the salvation is called as the biggest miracle in our life, or the biggest healing which God can do. But finally, I will just see this verse, Genesis 15. Verse 13 and 14. So this is when God is making a covenant with Abraham. He said, "The Lord said to Abraham, know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and will be servants there, and they will be afflicted for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation they serve, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions." So this was much foretold before it happened. God told Abraham, your generations will be in a foreign land, but they will grow, they will multiply, and I will bring them out of that land. I will judge the nation, which is Egypt. And it happened the same way later. God used Moses to bring those people out. The point is, God helped Jacob and his family survive the famine by bringing them to Egypt. And God used the place of Egypt to multiply them. Then God brought them out with, with blessings and possessions, showing his who he is to the Egyptians and to his own people. And like in our Christian life, Satan can sometimes can use oppression. He can try to make us fall in sin or fear man and to be in bondage, to try to be with the world, fearing man. But God works in our life. Like God doesn't want us to fear man or stay in Egypt. And like and God can send a person in our life who can help me, come out of this world. And God can use us in some person's life to bring them out of the world. And like in our Christian life, these tests will be there. The oppression, a situation where there is too much pressure for you to make a decision and to fear man. But God enables us. God enables us, and in that place, He trains us, and He helps us grow and multiply. And then there is a time where He brings us out. Okay? Amen?